Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Step2Skills Industry Insight webinar. Today, we are speaking about construction and retrofit, and we have a few speakers with us today to talk about the different aspects of construction and retrofit. And it's really about if you're already maybe qualified in a trade but want to upskill, or you're actually looking to start your journey, your career journey in construction. Hopefully we'll be able to give you a bit of an insight into the opportunities available, the training that might be available, and the jobs and skills that you might need to do that. Obviously, there's quite a big push on building lots of new homes, and obviously ensuring that the homes we currently have are fit for the future. So it's quite a big thing at the moment, and obviously in Hertfordshire, and I'm sure there are lots of employers out there looking for people in those jobs. So first of all, we're going to hear from Pauline from Reconstructing Minds. Pauline, over to you.
Good morning and thank you. I'm just going to share my screen. There we go. Let's see if that's going to full screen. Let me, oh dear, sorry, from the beginning. Oh gosh, there we go. So thank you, Sarah. I'm Pauline. I've worked in the construction industry for nearly 27 years. It wasn't an industry I chose. I fell into it. And that started with an organisation called the Building Research Establishment, BRE, based in Garston, Watford, which did all government fire testing, concrete testing, certification of products, and consultancy on heritage buildings. So from construction site to the boardroom, I was at the early stages of my career working right across the industry. And retrofit, you probably, or maybe not heard that word. It's been bouncing around for some 20 odd years, and it's back in fashion again, as it's one mechanism that will help us meet the government's legal commitment to be net zero by 2050. And there's lots of jobs being made available to help us do that, which I will talk to you about. But construction, you know, it isn't a career of choice, and there's so much opportunity in it. People say construction, they think of this. You know, every one of us is touched by construction. We work in an office or home. We live in a home. We go to school in a building. We go to hospital in a building. Everything in our life is evolved from a building. So it really is, you know, a crucial part of the UK PLC. But the opportunities within it, that reputation that has acquired for those muddy boots, has seen us lose 70,000 workers a year. Apprenticeships were supposed to be the golden ticket and get, you know, new people in. It's averaging with only around 30,000 coming in a year, with a 40% dropout. We're losing over 500,000 workers, and that it doesn't look like it's going to stop. We've got a major demographic problem in the UK. And, you know, a lot of people's view is, I'm on a construction site at this time of year, it's cold. You know, I could get a job in Starbucks, you know, and I wouldn't be cold. It's good money in construction. You know, whether you're going to go in as a labourer, whether you're going to go in as a admin person, maybe working in retail for Travis Perkins, it is an exciting industry and all its products and services that it has to offer. And it's not just for those who want to get muddy and dirty. But to top all those challenges and the reputation it has, we've really been hit hard, but it's actually quite exciting as well. COVID construction was like the healthcare service. It was one of the few industries that was working very, very hard. As with the automotive sector, it's been hit by the war in Ukraine. You had a labour shortage because of Brexit. But things like data, the internet, and all new legislation is actually creating opportunity for different roles in construction to be created. And so when people consider construction outside on a muddy building site, in fact, it's not, it goes much wider than that. This slide is very busy, but I wanted to present to you from cradle to grave, from designing of a building to the project, the bid, to speaking with stakeholders and clients, gathering all the materials. You see, if you go past houses, certainly council houses at the moment, they're having wraparounds done. The houses are all being made smooth. They are being installed with insulation to make them much more sustainable, keep the heat in. And that's a role, that's an activity that's increased, and installers of installation is a key area people are getting into. So you may have seen those, that's what they're doing. 5 years ago, you wouldn't have seen those scaffolding units around those houses doing wraparounds, but with the government's UK legal commitment, it is. Managing people on site, project management. If you're somebody who likes things all to be done in a particular order, you know, going down a project management course. There's lots of qualifications, short qualifications you can get, such as Prince 2, Lean. They're a week course with an exam at the end, and you're a certified project manager. There's roles in construction for that, or for the high risk night shift duties as well. They pay a premium. You've seen wind turbines coming in, heat pumps, ground source heat pumps. Yes, you have to be a gas engine qualified and certified gas engineer to be able to install heat pumps. But the colleges, West Herts College and the other 3 colleges, have bolt-on courses now for gas installers to help them be equipped and skilled to deliver retrofit solutions. I'm sorry if you can hear a police cars going past. I live in a very quiet area. That's very unusual. Sorry about that. So retrofit. Sustainability, net zero. Some people are like, oh, you know, just that's all fluffy. You know, what real value is it going to add? Well, you imagine you live in a 1970s council house, a flat, or an old 1930s building. Retrofit is where you make improvements to an existing building to make it much more sustainable, warmer, keeping heat in the home warmer for longer. And there's new technologies for that as well, because the government's trying to phase out natural gas boilers. They hope by 2035, no gas boilers will exist in homes in the UK. There's a lot of, you know, cynical views on that, because they keep pushing the deadline, because it's a big job, and new homes that are being built today are having gas boilers installed. But if we don't do it, we will not meet that legal commitment to be net zero by 2050. So replacing fossil fuels with renewable energy is another way for us to meet net zero. And it's not just about the heating and the wrapping round and the actual fabric of a building. It's also about LED lights, insulating external walls, internal walls. So retrofit, again, is a big scale of activity which you could pick up a particular area, be trained, and then offer it as a service. And that's what I was saying here of these are the insulation, solar panels, loft insulation, double glazing, biomass boilers. They're not very popular here in the UK, but certainly ground source heat pumps. That slide helps you visualize that. The thing is, well, the reason that we're having to retrofit is because 80% of our buildings in the UK will still be getting lived in 2050. So there's more existing homes than there ever will be new homes. So that's why we've got to do it. And getting yourselves equipped, either whether that's to be a labourer or help a carpenter, an electrical engineer, or whether that's to do any of that, you will have to get certification for those. However, for retrofit, many of you will have seen this, EPCs, which are energy performance certificates. You'll see them on your fridge, your freezer, your washing machine. This is saying how energy efficient they are. We were getting these all done for homes. And so there was a big push out in the industry about 6 years ago, and people were becoming energy assessors. You might have heard of that. Maybe you were one of the ones that, took up the training and wanted to offer that, and it didn't work out. And I can understand if you feel a bit better about that. But these are coming back in a different form. So if you were one of those individuals who trained up to be an energy assessor, all is not lost. It is coming back in. So bringing construction into retrofit, depending on where you are with your qualifications, there is a role for you. And there's, even if you're in your 40s and 50s, you could embark on an apprenticeship. You could even say, I want to do a degree in that. So you could do your apprenticeship, and then you could do 12 months top up to get a degree if that is what you desired. But if we go right back to admin, front desk, customer services, those individuals doing that, there is a role known as a retrofit advisor. And it's a 3-day course, and the Hertfordshire Futures do a course on it. And if you pass the short test, you become certified. And the government, to help push this, have created a website called Trustmark. So if you become qualified in any of these areas, you will be put onto the government website. So anybody looking for advice on how to retrofit their home, their first protocol would be to look at employing a retrofit advisor. And you could put your certificate on there. There's not that many in Hertfordshire. I just did a big study on retrofit. We need 60,000 retrofitters in Hertfordshire. Currently, we have 170. We're a long way short. So that there is an upcoming role. If you're much more technical, physical, practical work is more you. Think about the discipline you would particularly interested, roof insulation maybe. You could become a retrofit assessor. There's no prerequisites for retrofit advisor or retrofit assessor. There is for the coordinator role. These are 3 roles that are in the retrofit standard. So you could make your way up to that if you wish. So construction, when it's viewed as, you can't progress, there's no career paths, there are. And because we're so short of people in the industry, the companies are investing people to help them, future-proof their organisation. So these are the roles at a high level, but I would say think about where you are, what excites you, what enjoys you. The risk roles are obviously the night work and the cranes and so on. If you're much more precise and a detailed person, potentially picking up a technical discipline. And the colleges are very good at finding apprenticeships. They had 90 construction students last year, and all but 2 of them started apprenticeships. They're doing so well. So they're very helpful indeed. But where do I start? Where do I go? But Pauline, I've got nothing. I don't know where to go to get onto any construction site. Even if a guy's just refurbishing a house, you should have a labourer CSCS card to cover you. Understand health and safety is critical in our industry. And that's the link there for all the different levels. And they have different payment schemes as well, because they're trying to help people get a step on the ladder. Looking at retrofit on Hertfordshire Future's HOP website, there's a snippet there. They've got boot camp courses for a whole number of sectors. And if you wanted to think, I'd like to go into sales, or I'd like to work in an admin of a sustainability organisation, consider the Retrofit Assessor 3-day course with an online exam, and consider taking this role. So the hopinto.co.uk is the web URL for you on there. Retrofit Assessor, it's a much more detailed course. You need to become an energy assessor first, and there's different ways to do that. There's other construction courses on there, and the HOP have funding. So I don't believe currently there's any fee to pay for these retrofit courses. You just need to reach out to them. So think about where your interests lie. Where would you enjoy it? If it's the muddy boots, getting out in the fresh air, there's that. Or sitting behind a desk talking to people, there's that. To go out analysing, this general sustainability level of a house, there's that too. But it really is an industry that pays well, because it recognises the difficulties in some of the weather conditions. So without further ado, I will conclude there, because there was a lot, and take any questions, Sarah.
Thank you, Pauline. Really, really thorough overview of kind of all of the options out there, and just giving people a real understanding that, like you say, it isn't just about putting on a pair of boots and getting out there in the mud. So thank you, Pauline. I really appreciate that. There are currently no questions at this point. If anyone does have a question for Pauline, please, you can type it in the chat. You can raise your hand. Happy to take questions either way. Pauline, are you staying around?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, someone has asked for your email address.
Yeah, I'll give that. That's fine. I don't mind.
Okay. Pauline's happy to put that in the chat.
So yes, there's my email.
Brilliant. Thank you, Pauline. Really appreciate that. But if anyone thinks of any questions as we're going through, then Pauline will still be here at the end to answer any questions at that point. So now we will pass over to Tim and Michael from Pyramid Solutions, which is a local company that are doing a lot of the things that Pauline was talking about in her presentation. So Tim, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Pauline. An amazing sort of summary of the opportunity in Retrofit. I'm one of the owners of Pyramid. We actually have 2 brands, Pyramid Eco and another brand called the Retrofitters. And I'm relatively new to the whole retrofit industry. I actually set up a digital marketing agency about 12 years ago. But I got talking to Michael, who is the founder of Pyramid, and fell in love with the opportunity in Retrofit because of everything that Pauline has been talking about. So I've worked with, through the digital marketing agency, I've worked with probably 400 or 500 businesses in various industries and every imaginable market across the world. And I've got to say, I've never seen an industry where there is such a significant imbalance between the demand for the services and the supply available. This is extraordinary, right? The number, when Pauline said we need 60,000 retrofitters and we got 170, like this is a pattern that is being repeated across the country. This is really quite stunning. So I can't advocate enough for getting into this industry in any way that you can, really, because it's such an exciting opportunity. So yeah, I've got a few slides for you, mainly talking a bit about Retrofit. I know Pauline's covered that in great detail, so that's amazing. Then talking about some of the roles that we hire for. So we are an installer firm, so we go and do the insulation on people's homes. We do external wall insulation, which is putting stuff on the outside of the walls. We do internal wall insulation, which is putting stuff on the insides of the walls. Cavity wall insulation, which is putting stuff in the middle of the walls. Loft insulation, and then solar panels on the roofs, and heat pumps as well. So that's what we do. And we do this mainly for two types of customer. So Pyramid Eco, which is one brand, we work with housing associations. So these are the organizations that manage social housing. So a housing association like Settle, for example, will have thousands of social houses across the south, and they will contact a company like us to go and install insulation in these homes, because many of them are older properties. They were built at a time when we didn't really have to think about the costs of energy, or net zero wasn't even a concept when most of these homes were built. So we'll go and do that work for housing associations. We also have another brand called the Retrofitters, which works with private landlords. So landlords who will have dozens or even hundreds of properties, and will want to do the same thing for their properties. Now, most of the work that we do is actually funded. So the landlords and the housing associations aren't usually paying for a lot of this work, or in some cases all of this work themselves. That funding is coming from the government in various different ways, or it's coming from us in various different ways, but it's all funded basically, which means that, again, this isn't something where there is a constraint on demand, because every housing association wants to retrofit its stock. Every private landlord wants to go make its property more energy efficient, because it's essentially getting the work done for free. So that's another reason why this is a really exciting opportunity. So we work, or we sort of typically hire in three areas. Why are my slides working? We've really got three types of job roles. We've got the admin roles that Pauline mentioned. We've got technical roles, and we've got management roles. And each of these, as Pauline said, will suit different, I guess, types of people. You might have a preference for one or the other. So some of the admin roles that we hire for are things like project coordinators. So these aren't necessarily, they're not necessarily retrofit coordinators. They are just people who coordinate a project. They'll make sure that we've got the right teams working on site on a particular day. They'll be making sure that we've got the right materials on the site. We've got customer service people. So these are people who will just talk to the landlords. They'll collect lists of the properties. They'll organize those lists, making sure that we're communicating with all the people that we're working with. They might be talking to the residents as well. We've got compliance and submissions specialists. So when we're doing this funded work, we have to submit each job to usually energy companies for funding if we're working with private landlords. And that takes someone who's quite detail oriented. They like collecting lots of documents and submitting them in a very particular way. And then we've got general office-based staff, so people who are doing, accounts, or chasing people for payment, or doing the hiring, writing job ads, all that type of stuff. So we broadly put them in the sort of the admin bucket. That's not to diminish their responsibility at all, because actually a good admin team is the secret to a well-run company. So these are incredibly important roles, and attention to detail, diligence, and a sort of a relentless determination is always really highly valued in these types of admin roles, because retrofit projects can be quite complex. There's lots of moving parts. You might be working with different firms at different stages of the project. And then, of course, everything needs to be completely compliant and submitted perfectly. Otherwise, you don't get the funding and the company goes bust. So, you've really got to dot your I's and cross your T's. Then we've got what we call the technical roles. So these often require some sort of specific training and or qualifications. So the retrofit assessors, retrofit coordinators, as Pauline mentioned, huge lack of retrofit coordinators. I think we were working with Hertfordshire on we're working with various councils to build a retrofit strategy for Hertfordshire, and the number that's talked about is something like 3 retrofit coordinators in all of Hertfordshire. Well, I calculated that Hertfordshire needs to retrofit about 50 homes per day between now and 2050 to hit its targets. So 3 retrofit coordinators is not going to touch the sides. So there are some roles like this which are a bit more specialized, which require certain qualifications, where there is vast demand, and the industry just doesn't have the people to do them. And then we've got the installation specialists. So these are the people that actually do the work. Now, some of these require specific qualifications. So anything to do with electricity, like heat pumps and solar, will require specific qualifications. The insulation, not so much. How the insulation side of things tends to work is each manufacturer of the insulation will have their own sort of training program. So you'll get trained on installing a particular system by Weber or Weatherby or SWIP. So these are run by the manufacturers themselves. You don't typically have to pay for these. And a company like ours, when we're working with these different systems, we'll be talking to the manufacturers and then sending our teams on these trainings so they can get trained up in using the systems. And then you've got the management roles. So these are the people who are managing the projects. They might be managing on site, team leaders, and of course, company management as well. So I've got a few examples of each different type of role that we've hired, and I thought I could just explain the background of the people that we ended up going with and a lot of the candidates that we see. So maybe you can see where you fit and which of these 3 areas you might want to go into. But really just broadly, some of the skills and qualifications that you might be looking for each one. So the entry level and admin roles, usually you need some sort of basic communication and computer skills here. So being able to use spreadsheets, being able to use email, when you're sending messages, being really eloquent and, you know, getting your punctuation and grammar right. Those things are really important because they're really good for first impressions. Attention to detail, really important in our space, as we said, because what we're essentially doing is wrapping people's houses. And if we do this wrong, it can cause all sorts of problems. There can be water ingress, there can be mold, ventilation issues, all sorts of things which can go horribly wrong. And we as a company are guaranteeing this work for 15 years. So it needs to be absolutely perfectly done. So all of these roles require keen attention to detail and a lot of focus, because we can't just be burying things. We can't be doing this in a lax way. For the technical roles, often there will be some sort of qualification, like I said, particularly for anything that involves electricity, like heat pumps or solar. One of the things I'd say about some of the technical roles is because there is such a lack of specialists in retrofit, a lot of our people don't necessarily come originally from retrofit. They might come from somewhere else. Like Pauline said, they might be gas engineers, or they might be plumbers that have retrained, or they've learned certain systems. So if you don't have a background in retrofit, don't let that put you off, because a lot of people don't have a background in retrofit. I knew virtually nothing about retrofit a year ago. Here I am running a company that does retrofit. Like, this is such a new and expanding area. We're going to have to be bringing loads more people into it if we're going to get anywhere near these net zero targets. And training will often be provided if you're working with a company like ours. So, you know, increasingly we're going to be needing MVQ level 3. Having this already would be an advantage, but employers like us, we're already building relationships with colleges where we can get our teams to go and do this MVQ level 3 when it's required. So, you know, we're not expecting people to come on and have every qualification under the sun. We want good quality hard workers with attention to detail and a strong work ethic, and then we can figure out the qualifications with them over time. And then there are soft skills. So reliability, absolutely vital. In construction, it has a bit of a bad reputation for reliability, particularly on the installer side. And I would say, from what I've seen so far, that bad reputation is entirely justified. If you can be very reliable, you can show up when you say you're going to show up, and you can do your work with a sense of pride, you will really stand out in this space. So, yeah, definitely a big advocate for reliability. Customer service orientation is also quite important. So if maybe you're good with people and you can be sensitive to their needs. Remember, if we're going into someone's house, let's say we're doing an internal wall insulation. We are going into their house in many cases while they're still living there. We're ripping down parts of their walls and installing panels and then replastering. So imagine that someone's coming into your house to do this, maybe in your child's bedroom. Right. So you need someone in that situation who's going to be incredibly sensitive. You know, they're going to be decent people. They're going to take their shoes off when they need to take their shoes off. And, you know, they're going to act professionally and be very customer service oriented. That's really going to help you in this space. Teamwork and problem-solving ability. The fascinating thing about retrofit is that no two houses are the same. Even if they look the same, they are never quite the same. So walls aren't always straight and things aren't always exactly how they've been measured. And a lot of this job is about making things work with very unique circumstances. So you need to be looking for solutions rather than just trying to find problems and trying to find reasons why you can't do a thing if you're going to do well. Okay, so some recent hires. I just wanted to talk you through each of these. These are hires that I've been personally involved with to talk through how each one came about and maybe see if you fit into any of these, I don't know, personas, I guess. So the first one's site manager. So this is a role that we would typically pay £50,000 to £60,000 a year for. The role is basically to go onto site, to check that the teams are doing the work properly, to maybe talk to the residents, to talk to the main contractor if we're working with a tier 1 contractor, to make sure that health and safety principles are being followed, and to basically organize the site. This person is like the parent of the site team. So we put a job out for this, had quite a few applicants, but virtually none of them had any experience in retrofit, right? Many of them had site management experience. We ended up hiring someone who was, incredibly diligent, very strong health and safety background, not an entry-level person. So this is not something that you just typically go straight into. You would need a bit of experience here. The office administrator role, by contrast, we gave this to someone without any experience in retrofit at all. I don't think they'd ever even had an admin role before, but they did have a sort of a prior background and they were very strong on attention to detail. And when we spoke to them, that attention to detail really came across. They're very systems oriented. You get a lot of people that might self-identify as geeks going for this role, and I'm a geek, so I absolutely love that. But this is a very detail-oriented, very structured, very process-driven role. Typical salaries could be anywhere from 30 to 40k, but the great thing about this role is you get to see how the whole ecosystem works. You get to see all the different moving parts in a retrofit business, and that can be a great way in, so that you can then start moving into different areas. So the person that we've put in this role will probably be moving up into team management and eventually management positions over the next few years because they've really proven themselves. We also have an open role for a materials and inventory coordinator. So this is essentially someone who goes around in a van all day, picking up stuff and dropping it off on site. So again, we're not looking for anybody with any particular retrofit experience here, just someone who is very reliable, hardworking and well organized. So I'm going to cough. I am dying. I don't know if you can tell. Hopefully not. So yeah, again, no retrofit experience needed here, but this is a great entry point into the retrofit industry because by being involved in each of these products, by going to the various retailers and the distribution places to pick up the materials, they're getting to learn each of the different systems that we're working on. They're going to site, they're talking to the installation teams, they're really learning this industry, but without any experience. Like a delivery driver could basically do this. If they were very well organized, they have a clean driving license, then they can do this. So if you're new to the space and you think this retrofit thing sounds really interesting, how do I even just get anywhere near it? Looking out for roles like this might be a good way to do it. And then finally, managing director. So we've recently hired a managing director, actually two, but that's another story. And the managing director that we've got has, again, no experience in retrofit because there's actually very few retrofit managing directors out there. They do have a track record in business, of course. But again, we're just looking for someone who's very smart, very switched on, works hard, good attention to detail, and you know, can see things from a systems and a process orientation. So managing director salaries obviously can be anywhere from, you know, 80 to 120k plus, and this is something that, you know, pretty much anyone on the team could work their way up into over, you know, over a number of years once they've got to know the processes and got to know the different moving parts within Retrofit. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague Michael, who has been hardcore inside Retrofit for well over a decade, to see if there's anything that I've missed. I'm sure there is, while I go and sneeze and cough myself into oblivion.
Thank you, Tim. Not a great deal to add. Pauline and Tim have done such a great job of actually explaining such a big variety or range of where we are sitting in this market. As Tim said, I've been involved in Retrofit since 2011. I was ringing up DEC in 2011, asking them, what's Green Deal? What's this thing that's coming? And the employees within DEC were going, Green Deal, we've never heard of it. And I said, this thing is coming. You're the guys who are going to be running it. Please tell me what it is. And I knew about it before employees within DEC knew about it. So we're involved in one of the first funded wall insulation projects. I've been in and out of the market for years. We've done a lot in construction, mainly heating, electrical work. But I've never seen it like this. I've never seen the excitement, the buzz around. This is going to be the biggest boost to our economy ever, I would argue. Pauline and Tim pointed out so many opportunities for people to get involved in. When I was initially getting involved in Retrofit 2011, it was all about, oh, can we give you some money so you can put wall insulation on your property? It was very early days. Everyone was trying things out. Within the last, I would say 24 months or so, it's been a much bigger overlook of a whole house retrofit project. So when Pauline points out that it's, if you don't want to get in muddy puddles, there is lots of different opportunities. Now, Tim's done a great job of explaining where those roles are, and it justifies my persistence to drag him into the business to help me structure this, because he's done this for such a long time. I recognize that while my skills are on site, hence you see me in my car at the moment, I'm on the road visiting sites, the back end I needed help with. I needed someone who's structured companies and done that. Back to my original point, while there was just wall insulation looked at, now we're looking at this new term, which is called whole house retrofit. There is so many aspects involved that if you don't want to put the insulation on the wall, if you don't want to render, if you don't want to do plumbing, there is a million other factors just within construction. Just ignoring the admin, site management, just within construction, there's so many aspects you can get involved in. Ventilation is a huge issue. Ventilation assessments, mold assessments. I mean, the list is endless, and it's the most exciting space to be in. I mean, who can argue there is a better one out there at the moment? Just get involved if you want to get involved. Colleges are really getting hands-on. We're working on projects where colleges have asked us to come in and help them build a hub, a house within their one particular college has got a hangar, a very large building. They want us to physically build a house that displays all aspects of retrofit. You can get involved in all of those. You can get involved in, like Tim said, admin side. There is so much stuff to get involved in. My only advice, my only recommendation would be is, if you're new to this, if you're not specializing in anything, if you're not sure which route you're going to go down, because of whole house retrofit, look at multi-skilled. Pauline mentioned winters, cold weathers. You don't want to do insulation outside. Winters, and we see this with our guys, winters, come November, December, they come to us and say, what internal wall insulation jobs have you got we can do? They don't want to work in the cold. Who wants to work in cold, freezing? You're rendering, your hands are ice cold, you're rendering walls, you put it on, it rains the next day, it all washes off and you got to start again. You don't want to do that in the winter. You want to go into someone's nice warm home and put internal wall insulation on. Then going back to Tim's point, you have to have the skills. You're working in someone's home. This is not a site, so there is not welfare facilities set up in on that site, because you're just literally working in one person's house. You're going to have to use their facilities, their loo, their toilet. You might want to warm up some of your food. How do you respect that person? You know, when do you use their facilities? Do you leave it as they expect? You know, all of these things, and it sounds very basic, but it's not being done at the moment. So just what, like Tim said, just by doing the very basics, the bar is very low. You can come in and absolutely smash this out of the park by just doing the standard stuff, by just being conscious of people around you, respecting their property, respecting them, turning up on time, calling them if you're not going to turn up on time. Just by doing those basic things, the opportunities are honestly endless. This is going to go until 2050 at the very least. Typical life of wall insulation is 20-25 years. If we insulate every property today between now and 2050, you're going to be revisiting those houses and redoing the insulation, because there's a lifespan for this. This is going to be a generational career, and it's, you know, it's time to get on board. But look at the broader picture. Look at multi-skills. Don't pigeonhole yourself into one aspect. Look at people around you that have other skills that you can bring on board. Okay, you don't want to do rendering, but you're quite good at putting the insulation on the wall itself. Work with someone who's got plastering experience, who can get into rendering, and together you can apply that system. Insulation is a system, it's not just one layer. So if you don't like one process of that system, work with other people. But yeah, that's all I can add at the moment.
Thank you both so much. Really interesting to hear kind of what you're doing and the opportunities that are available. And you all speak so passionately about what you're doing as well, which really comes through. And I hope that the people on the call today and the people that watch this back in their own time really see that there are many opportunities out there for them. So I really appreciate your time. Has anyone got any questions on that at this point? Please feel free to raise your hand, put a message in the chat. Do you have any technical roles available at the moment? I assume, Tim, not, if you mentioned that your only open one is the inventory and materials coordinator.
We'll always take good quality installers, particularly EWI, external wall insulation, IWI. Michael, anything to add?
Yeah, it sounds very basic, and you think anyone can do it because it's advertised as a DIY job. But we're in need of loft insulation installers, and people think, oh, I'm just going to go up into a loft and roll insulation out. It doesn't work like that. NVQ level 3 in building insulation and insulation is coming in massively. You can't just roll out loft rolls where people did for years. That causes problems. You're blocking up air vents. You're putting loft roll on cables that can get overheated, can cause fires. Very basic training course, normally a couple of days on site, and you're into a career insulating people's lofts. And very early days, so that's why Tim said no, but we will be looking at loft insulation installers. Very low level, very low entry, but it doesn't demean from the role. So yes, I would say just this thing is kind of organic and it's growing all the time. So just take one of our contact details and be in touch.
Yeah, brilliant. Tim has just put his details in the chat. So if you are interested in any roles, then obviously please get in touch. I assume, Tim, that also goes for Debbie's question about possibly work experience. Oh, you're on mute.
I'm
still,
muted.
Sorry.
I mean, just to give you some context, we have more contracts and work opportunities than we are able to handle. So that's why we're not just putting up job roles for specific roles, because we just need more of everything. So please, yeah, just drop me an email, tim@pyramideco.co.uk. Send over a CV or cover letter. Yeah, most of the time we're not actually looking at like specific qualifications or anything like that. I mean, obviously, if you've got if you've got retrofit or construction related qualifications, great, but we're not looking for like degrees or, you know, anything like that. We just want work ethic and reliability, really.
Brilliant, thank you. Pauline,
Sorry,
are
and
you
also,
answering? Oh, sorry, Michael, go on.
Sorry, also there is roles that we're figuring out that we didn't know existed before. We're looking at another retrofit company that employs a landscape gardener. And you think, what's that got to do with retrofit? When you install wall insulation and people have got hedges and vegetation growing around their building, that can potentially affect the wall insulation at a later date. So an experienced landscape gardener is going in there, preparing the site, cutting hedges back, removing weeds and stuff that can grow within the wall insulation and cause a problem at a later date. So if you're in contact with us and you've got specific skills and we don't know that role exists yet, it may mean that tomorrow that role does exist. So this is growing constantly.
Brilliant, thank you. And I was just going to say, Pauline, thank you for answering Nicola's question about the pathway for becoming a retrofit coordinator. So appreciate you putting that message in the chat there. And last but not least, we have Kelvin, and I'm not sure if Nicola and Kelvin are speaking from Sidori, and we're talking, Pauline mentioned right at the beginning, first kind of step into any role within construction is that CSCS card. So they are going to talk to you about how they can maybe help get that, help you get that, so that you can start your journey in construction. So over to you guys. Do you have anything to present? Are you able to present if you need to?
No, nothing to present. I will just give a bit of an overview of what Sidori do as a company. So currently we're working with Hertford Regional College. We work in partnership with them on their adult education budget spending. So they we do all the pre-screening, the marketing, the relationship with the job centres and things like that, because the course is available to those who are on benefits or low income. And it is a level 1 introduction to construction, level 1 health and safety in a construction environment, and they do the employability skills and all of that sort of thing as well. So basically a need was identified in the region for more people with CSCS cards, getting more people into those entry-level roles so that they can progress. Those the courses that we run are online as well, so they don't need to live near to Hertford Regional College. They just need to live in Hertfordshire, and it's a 2-week programme as well, and they get their CSCS test at the end of that, and we'll fund their card as well. So it's all fully funded. So yeah, it just sort of fits in quite nicely with those who perhaps have never worked in construction at all, haven't really had anything to do with the industry and are looking to get into construction. And all of this retrofit information today has been really helpful because Kelvin actually works on our employment advisor team, so that all of that information will be so helpful to him for when he's having those conversations with our candidates afterwards about different options and getting into retrofit. It sounds like there's plenty of jobs available.
100%.
Do you want to add anything, Kelvin?
Yeah, just something brief. Yeah, all the information is definitely going to help me. I think in terms of when I'm speaking to the learners, yes, some of them are not experienced in construction, but majority of them obviously want to do anything so that they'll be able to obviously get their foot into the door. And I think obviously my job is to aid them and assist them in getting this done, as quickly as possible, whether it be an apprenticeship or even them having to volunteer sometimes, maybe do like, a few weeks of jobs here and there on different sites. I'm always having one-to-ones with the learners that have passed their CSCS test, and even the ones that haven't passed, I still have one-to-ones with them, to kind of like aid them into getting into other sectors that are quite close to like construction, maybe something like warehousing, stuff like that. So yeah, definitely it does help a lot, and yeah, I think we also have like a kind of like a job portal as well. So I think some of the jobs might be useful for us to post on there for learners with CSCS cards to kind of like apply for directly.
Yeah, if anybody is interested in that, if you've got any sort of entry-level roles that you want to advertise, we've got a steady stream of entry-level candidates, and those jobs can be posted on our internal job board, which is available to anybody who completes our course. So do let us know.
Yeah.
Thanks. I think that's everything
Thank
from
you.
us, to be honest. It's short and sweet. We offer CSCS across Hertfordshire, and you know, open to any new relationships, networking, anything like that. So
Could Nicola or Kelvin, could you just jot in the chat maybe the website where, if people want to look in more detail at the courses that you've got, how to get the CSCS card, are they applying for that course through you directly or through Herts Regional College? Brilliant, thanks.
So most people come to us via job centres and support charities and things like that, because we are helping those who are out of work to get into the construction industry. But there is an inquiry form on our website that you can submit, and one of our office team will give you a call and just have a chat about what the course entails and what they get out of it. So
brilliant, thank you. I'm really pleased that everyone has been able to speak today, and I think it's a really good, you know, obviously for us, Step2Skills, we are working with adults who might not have been in employment for a while, maybe at a crossroads in their career, and to see the bigger picture and the wide range of opportunities that are out there, and also the different courses from entry level into the boot camps that, you know, and just that progression I think is excellent. So I'm really grateful for all of you that have spoken today and shared your insights. It really is an exciting, I think, prospect and opportunity for anyone. So really appreciate all of your time. Does anyone else have any questions for our speakers today? Have we covered everything? Got someone typing. I can ask Pauline and Tim, are you both able to share your slides with me so that I can forward them on, if that's okay? And I will, thanks Pauline.
Yeah, happy to. Although most of mine is spoken, so I guess the YouTube video might be more useful.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, within the next probably 24 to 48 hours, the video will be available, and I will email that out to anyone who signed up to attend today, and it will then be available on the Step2Skills YouTube channel via the Step2Skills website. So you'll be able to look back at it in your own time. And Kelvin, again, it might be useful for you when you're speaking to your learners as well. So really, really grateful. Thank you all for attending. Lovely to meet some of you, lovely to see some of you again, and hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. Thank you so much.
thanks for having us. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.